About 5 years ago, my best friend and I took a road trip from Los Angeles to Yellowstone National Park. I have countless positive memories from that trip, but one unpleasant conversation stuck with me. While we admired one of Yellowstone's biggest geothermal hot springs, we were approached by a park ranger. He told us the particular spring we were appreciating would be drained and gone within 50 years. He went on to explain that the vent supplying the spring's water was clogged because so many tourists had thrown garbage into it. I'm sharing this anecdote to show you how something beautiful was ruined because it got attention from the wrong people. And as I'm sure you've put together by now, I worry this is what's happening to From Software, the once shining example of uncompromising creative vision who recently seem to have caved to industry trends in an effort to maximize profits. In the past few months, they've done several things that are seemingly antithetical to the principles that made the studio so successful in the first place. I think this period represents a fork in the road for FromSoft. On one side, there is the path where they use these unorthodox projects as learning opportunities that eventually benefit future releases. On the other side, there is the much darker path where powerful investors convince the studio to pursue low-effort cash grabs, exchanging their goodwill with fans for short-term financial gain. But let's take a step back. In order to explain how FromSoft's recent choices are out of character, we first have to establish what's in character for the studio. To me, FromSoft is known for precisely crafted single-player experiences that use high difficulty and environmental storytelling to engage players. Their games aren't for everyone, but by accepting and embracing that as a foundational element of their design philosophy, they've been able to make games that are for someone. And as it turns out, there are a lot of someones out there, myself included. FromSoft's games are equally noteworthy for the features they don't have. In a time where many major studios are trying to create live service juggernauts outfitted with microtransactions and battle passes, FromSoft has admirably maintained a more classic approach that aims to earn your $60 by providing a worthwhile product. In fact, FromSoft titles are usually at such a high quality that $60 feels like a bargain. Elden Ring's DLC, Shadow of the Erdtree, provided more content than most AAA releases, and it was priced at just $40. This old-school approach applies to their design practices as well, with the studio ignoring modern design conventions and trendy mechanics. Remember, these guys didn't have a dedicated jump button on their control scheme until Elden Ring. With this context in mind, it's easy to see how fans were surprised by the announcement of Elden Ring Nightreign this past winter. Standing in firm contrast to everything I just said, Nightreign is a co-op-focused roguelike that makes use of almost entirely reused assets from Elden Ring, and even past entries from the Souls series. When fans came out of their dopamine-induced comas, there were a lot of natural questions about how this would fit into FromSoft's design formula. I mean, character classes, mini-maps, item rarity? Who's making this thing? Activision, Blizzard King, KFC, Taco Bell, Pizza Hut? This departure from the studio's usual design template left the fan base divided. Some saw Nightreign as an exciting application of Souls gameplay on a new genre, while skeptics saw the title as an asset flip cash grab that would be more heavily criticized if it was being made by any other studio. This scattered fan reception has continued post-launch, and after playing the game myself, I can see why. Nightreign definitely feels like the most contemporary game FromSoft has ever released, but even still, there are elements of the multiplayer experience that are baffling, most notably the absence of duo queue. Currently, you either have to play solo or in a trio, and since it is far easier to get one friend to play versus two, duos are forced to deal with an awkward third wheel who has to interpret the team's plans secondhand, often feeling like more of a liability than an asset. Also, frustratingly, there's no way to quickly restart your run or even return to the hub world, which is a huge oversight considering how punishing Nightreign is. Dying once on an early encounter can be enough to put you on your back foot for the rest of the run, and having to back all the way out to the title screen to start over is extremely cumbersome, especially when you need to re-invite friends after the fact. There is also fair criticism to be made of the game design in Nightreign. At the moment, collectible relics are the main form of long-term progression in the game, and since the majority of those drops depend on RNG, it can feel like you aren't making real progress despite beating increasingly difficult bosses. There are also character-specific side objectives to spice things up from run to run, but the consensus is there isn't enough meat on Nightrein's bones to engage players over a long period. Variation is the lifeblood of any roguelike, and Nightreign comes up short in that extremely important category. The game also doesn't introduce any particularly inspired mechanics to the genre, and as a whole, I think most players would agree the game does not meet the studio's sky-high standards. It just doesn't ooze creativity the way their other releases do, and while I personally wouldn't go so far as to call Nightreign an outright cash grab, I think it's easily the FromSoft project that is the most deserving of that label. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. The more charitable way to look at Nightreign is that it was a passion project directed by Miyazaki's right-hand man that didn't quite live up to expectations, much like Dark Souls 2, the last Souls game that Miyazaki wasn't in charge of. There are still some fun ideas in Nightreign that could positively influence future titles, and despite its flaws, the game is still a pretty good time. It doesn't spell doom and gloom for the studio, and is instead just a minor misstep on the way to bigger and better things. That's the more positive perspective I had until they announced the Elden Ring movie. To me, this is the most compelling evidence that there has been an internal attitude shift that is having a negative effect on the studio's decision-making. Right now, cross-media adaptations are the go-to corporate strategy for maximizing IP value. And as I'm sure you guys have noticed, there are a lot of video game movies coming out lately, all of which share a particular flavor, and that flavor is shit. Even the Mario movie, which was the quote-unquote best of the recent bunch in my opinion, was just 90 minutes of loosely connected fan service and nostalgia bait. The Borderlands movie, on the other hand, took the fans behind the theater and shot them in the head with Kevin Hart's Nerf gun. Most recently, of course, the Minecraft movie went viral in all the wrong ways and proved that awful movies can still make $1 billion if there's a big enough IP behind them. Set against this backdrop, my hopes for the Elden Ring movie are not high, even if it is fun to imagine Danny DeVito as Lionel the Lionhearted, or Nicolas Cage as Rykard. Honestly, fans speculating about the cast will probably be more fun than watching the movie itself. Oh, and the guy who played Walder Frey has to be Godric, or I'm protesting the movie. Anyway, A24 is certainly a competent studio, and director Alex Garland does appear to have a genuine appreciation for the game, but I just can't see a world where this won't be a CGI fest that bastardizes the characters from the game and leaves a sour taste in everyone's mouth. I think the only winning strategy is to tell a much smaller, self-contained story in the world of Elden Ring in a way that is tangentially connected to the game. But as we've established, small and self-contained is not how video game movies go. Even on the off chance the casting and script turn out great, the movie format is inherently opposed to FromSoft's unique brand of storytelling. Their games almost never sit you down and tell you exactly what's happening, instead inviting you to intuit the story through the atmosphere and your own imagination. Big budget movies do the opposite of that and present the viewer with a concrete narrative to invest in, removing their imagination from the equation.
Do you think that a series like the Souls series could ever work in another medium? Like, do you think somebody should look at adapting that?
I can't imagine how you do a Dark Souls film or TV adaptation. Dark Souls, the quality that makes Dark Souls special is probably unique to video games.
Miyazaki himself has yet to speak on the film's announcement as far as I can tell, which makes me even more confident that this decision was made at a level beyond his control. The last time he was asked about an Elden Ring movie last year, he said he would be open to another interpretation of the story, which sounds more like a moderate curiosity than a glowing endorsement in my opinion. I would love to be proven wrong on this, but I really do think this movie is going to do nothing but tarnish the legacy of the game. Boo! The final blow of this 3-hit combo is FromSoft's new partnership with Nintendo, beginning with the announcement of the Duskbloods, a PvEvP game exclusive to the Switch 2. The last time FromSoft went exclusive, we got Bloodborne, so exclusivity itself isn't the concern. It's more about who they chose to go exclusive with. In the gaming world, Nintendo is the helicopter mom who child-proofs every sharp corner in the house. So having FromSoft make a game that appears to be inspired by Escape from Tarkov is a head-scratcher to say the least, and it doesn't feel like a natural choice on the part of either company. On FromSoft's side, they're deviating even further from their core design pillars and leaning into multiplayer PvP, which is one of the few features in their games that can feel underbaked. For Nintendo, who makes the most approachable, family-friendly games on the market, they're getting a studio known for punishingly difficult games to make a game inspired by another very punishingly difficult game. Things got even worse with the recent announcement of the Elden Ring Tarnished Edition, a Switch 2 exclusive version of the game that adds new weapons, armor, starting classes, and cosmetics. But what about all of us who have the game already? Well, not to worry, good old consumer-friendly FromSoft is gonna make us pay for it. Remember when I said FromSoft is known for not caving into modern monetization trends? Well, apparently they're even going back on that in an effort to maintain the value proposition for Switch 2 owners. I know they're a business and they have to make money at the end of the day, but paid DLC for mostly cosmetics is so unlike FromSoft that I can't help but worry about the direction the company is heading in. So where did this shift come from? Well, as philosopher and intellectual DJ Khaled points out, it's possible to suffer from success. Elden Ring reached a level of popularity that was unprecedented for FromSoft, selling an estimated 30 million copies, 18 million more than the studio's next biggest hit, Dark Souls 2. In the eyes of investors, this turned the studio from a roadside curiosity to something much more eye-catching and appealing, the video game equivalent of a place like, say, Yellowstone National Park. In the wake of Elden Ring's massive commercial triumph, FromSoft's parent company, Kadokawa, released an annual finance report stating that they were focusing on maximizing Elden Ring's lifetime value. I don't know about you guys, but to me that certainly reads like a profit-driven corporate strategy that would lead to dubious initiatives like the Elden Ring movie or a Switch 2 exclusive edition of the game. I'm not ready to say that FromSoft has totally sold out and that they'll never make a good game again, but as I said in the intro to this video, this period is a fork in the road for the studio. I think it's still too early to tell which path they've chosen, but if they allow the new influx of corporate money to force the studio to abandon its core principles, reduce risk, and maximize profit, it will effectively guarantee that they'll never make a boundary-pushing, genre-defining title ever again. And as much as it pains me to say it, what FromSoft has done in recent months is what the first few steps down that path would look like. That said, I don't think it's too late to course correct, but if voices like Miyazaki's are being minimized in favor of those from the business side, I think it's going to be extremely difficult to do so. I really do hope to be wrong about this, because losing the FromSoft we know and love would be a monumental loss to an industry that needs fresh ideas and innovative studios now more than ever. Thanks for watching, throw a like and sub my way if you think I earned it, and I'll see you in the next one.